She walked into my wedding in a white dress. Floor-length. Lace. With a veil. And when I looked at my husband, the man I was about to marry, he looked at his mother, then looked at me, and said, "Can we just not make a scene?" I walked out of my own wedding. Hey everyone, welcome back to Verdict Stories. If you're new here, hit subscribe right now because I post new stories every week, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming. Today's story is one of the most infuriating things I have ever read on Reddit r/AmItheAsshole. Let's get into it. My name is Rachel. I'm 29, and 6 months ago I married or tried to marry the love of my life, Danielle. But before I tell you what happened on the wedding day, I need to tell you about Patricia. Patricia is Danielle's mother. She is 58 years old. She has been the center of Daniel's universe since his father left when Danielle was 12. And from the moment Danielle introduced us, she made one thing very clear. No woman would ever be good enough for her son. Not with words. Patricia was never rude with words. She was rude with silence. With looks. With the kind of smile that says, "I'm being polite but we both know what I really think." The first time I met her, she shook my hand and said, "Danielle has told me so much about you." Then she turned to Danielle and said, "She's pretty." Like I wasn't standing right there. Like I was a piece of furniture he'd bought. Over 2 years of dating Danielle, I tried everything with Patricia. I brought her flowers. I remembered her birthday. I asked about her life, her interests, her friends. I complimented her cooking even when it wasn't good. I was patient and warm and kind because I loved Danielle, and Patricia was part of the package. She was always just slightly cold. Never enough to complain about. Just enough to feel. When Danielle proposed, Patricia cried. "Happy tears," she said. At the engagement dinner she hugged me and said she was so glad Danielle had found someone. I thought maybe now things will change. They didn't. Wedding planning was its own nightmare. Patricia had opinions about everything: the venue, the flowers, the menu, the music. Every suggestion came with a story about what she had done at her own wedding in 1989. Every decision I made was met with a small sigh or a raised eyebrow. But I picked my battles. I stayed calm. I kept telling myself, one day. Just get through one day. Now let me tell you about the dress rule. When we sent out the wedding invitations, I included a note politely, clearly asking guests not to wear white, ivory, or cream. Standard wedding etiquette. I sent it to everyone, including Patricia. Patricia called Danielle after she received it. Danielle told me she was a little offended by the note and that she thought it was presumptuous. Danielle told her the note was for everyone and not directed at her personally. Patricia said she understood. She did not understand. The day of the wedding I was in the bridal suite getting ready when my maid of honor Jessica burst through the door. Her face told me everything before she said a word. She said, "Rachel, I need you to stay calm." Patricia had arrived at the venue in a floor-length white lace gown with a detachable veil. White lace veil. At her son's wedding. I want to be clear about something. This was not an off-white blouse. This was not a cream cardigan. This was a bridal gown. It had a sweetheart neckline, lace sleeves, and a small train. She looked like a bride. I asked Jessica to get Danielle. Danielle came to the bridal suite and I said, very quietly, "Your mother is wearing a white wedding gown to our wedding. Please ask her to change or leave." And Danielle looked at me and said, "Rachel, she's not going to change. She's already here. Can we just not make a scene? Can we just not make a scene?" I looked at my husband, the man I had. I picked up my bouquet. I walked out of the bridal suite. I walked past the venue coordinator, past the florist, past 43 confused guests who had arrived early. I got into my car and I drove to my best friend's apartment and I sat on her couch in my wedding dress and I called my mom. Quick pause: if this story is hitting different, subscribe to Verdict Stories so you don't miss next week. I promise it's even more dramatic than this. My mom arrived within 20 minutes. She sat next to me and she didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said, "What do you need?" I said, "I don't know yet." Daniel called 17 times. I didn't answer. He texted, "Everyone is waiting. Please come back. We can talk about this after." He wanted me to walk down the aisle next to his mother in a white wedding gown and deal with it after. I didn't go back. The wedding did not happen that day. In the days that followed, Daniel and I had the longest conversation of our relationship. He finally admitted that his mother had called him the night before the wedding and told him she was wearing white. He had known. He had said nothing to me. He had decided on his own, without asking me, that it wasn't worth the fight. He had chosen her. Before the wedding even started. He had chosen her. That was 6 weeks ago. Daniel and I are currently in couples therapy. We have not rescheduled the wedding. I do not know if we will. Patricia has not apologized. She told Daniel I overreacted and that she was just trying to look nice for her son's special day. She has not contacted me directly. I posted on Reddit because my own family was split. My mom supported me completely. My dad thought I should have just walked down the aisle and dealt with it later. My sister said I'd gone a little far. I genuinely didn't know anymore. Reddit was not split. The top comment, with over 61,000 upvotes, said, "The dress was bad. Your husband knowing and saying nothing was unforgivable. You didn't walk out on your wedding. You walked out on a man who already showed you exactly who he would choose every single time." Another comment said, "Patricia didn't wear white by accident. She wore white because she knew Daniel would never stop her." And she was right. And one comment said something I keep coming back to. He said, "Can we just not make a scene?" But the scene had already been made. He just wanted you to be the one who stayed silent through it. I stayed silent through 2 years of small coldness and raised eyebrows and sighs. I was not going to stay silent on my wedding day. Was I the asshole for walking out? Reddit said no. For the first time in this whole situation, I feel like someone finally sees it clearly. Let me know in the comments, would you have walked out? Or would you have stayed and walked down that aisle? Drop your verdict below and tell me, 10 or 8. And if you're new here, hit subscribe. I post new stories every week and I read every single comment. See you in the next one.